subject social science, and chapter number 1, rise of British rule in India. Rise of British rule in India. Now, you know that chapter already we have completed. Okay, so that is a little revision video, because on this Sunday we will be having the test of this chapter. So today we will quickly revise this entire chapter from line 1 to last line of the chapter. That will discuss major topics. I will write over here what are the major content, that all things we will discuss in today's video. So when we begin this chapter, if you remember that we talk about that rise of British rule in India. It means that Britishers are not came to India for the ruling purpose. They came to India for the trade purpose. As you know that they came for very first time for the trade purpose. At that time they didn't get the permission also to will be having carry out their trade. Afterwards they get the permission, and finally after the permissions they carry out their trades, and finally they will be starting to ruling us. So how these things happen, that we'll discuss. Let's explore this chapter. Now, first of all, since ancient time we know that India is in the vast country, as you know that, and you can say the condition of India or the position of India is incomparable, or you can say that comparison with Indian country is not possible, because in ancient time India was known as a golden bird, sone ki chidiya, because we will be having lots of minerals, portions, as well as spices that are used in the European market as well as in the around the world. So Europeans and other country peoples came to India to buy these spices and sell into their market. Even the cloth, cotton clothes, silk cloth, these all things of our commodities will be sold into the European market. But you know that Europe and India. So Europe came to India via land route and sea route. After that, what happened? Europe came to India via land route and sea route. In between that there will be a Turkey. It means the first initial stage they will be giving the, you can say, minimum amount of taxes on the commodities whichever they have purchased from the India while passing through the Turkish. But in 1453, student please note down these topics or points, so it will be helpful for your test also. In 1453 there will be a Constantinople battle of Turkish Muslim. Now due to that battle in 1453, the land route and sea routes of Europe to India was closed. Now you know that the Europeans cannot live without our spices or our commodities, so the discovery began to find the sea route to India. So it is our first topic is that discovery to find sea route to India. Now student, you know that when we start the, it means Europeans start the discovery to find a sea route to India. So initial stage, the king of Portuguese give the economical support or economical assistance to the explorer or the persons who are doing a voyage, it means a long journey in a sea to find a sea route to India. So first of all, who started that journey? So first one is Bartholomew Dias. Now Bartholomew Dias started its journey, it means long journey in a sea to find a sea route to India. But he reached to the Cape of Good Hope and he turned back due to storm in the sea or ocean. So we find the Cape of Good Hope. So here the discovery to sea route to India is not possible with the voyage of Bartholomew Dias. Then after, with the help of Spanish king, or you can say economical assistance or economical support from the Spanish king, Christopher Columbus started his journey, but unfortunately Christopher Columbus landed on one island, it known as the West Indies. So throughout his life he was think or known about that he has found a sea route to India, but it was his you can say big mistake. And that mistake was cleared by Amerigo Vespucci. You know that Amerigo Vespucci, why? Because the continent of America was found, Central America was found by the Amerigo Vespucci. That is why he has given the name according to his name America. America Vespucci. Now afterwards, finally, one person in 1498 in 1498, Vasco da Gama reached to the Calicut port and he found the sea route to India. When he came to the Calicut port, at that time King Zamorin was ruling over there. And now this year, or you can say due to these persons, the doors of the Europeans for the Indian market, or you can say the sea route of India was found, and the doors are open for the trade purpose. So it is our first topic, that discovery to find a sea route to India, that we have discussed. Now our second topic is that arrival of Europeans. Now after seeing the successful trade purpose with India, many Europeans came and settled over here. They carry out the trade, they getting a huge amount of benefits also. Then after Dutch from Denmark, or Dutch from Holland and Danish from Denmark came, and they were also settled. So in 16th century, Queen Elizabeth tried to having the trade relations with India. So first British ship was arrived at Surat, but the captain of that ship is that Captain William Hawkins. Unfortunately, he didn't get the permission. But afterwards, they get the permission, and you can say last Mughal, or you can say Jahangir, gave the permission to carry out the, you can say this trade purpose, or you can say business with our country. And slowly and steadily, the Britishers make their trading centers in Surat, Bharuch, or you can say Ahmedabad, or they want to expand their more areas or more trading centers. And due to that, they will be having the coalition with Maratha also, and they step back because the Maratha war, or you can say the army of Maratha, is too strong. So now they will be having the coalitions with other European countries also, or European peoples also. Due to at that time only, in 1664, French East India Company came to India for the trade purpose. Now already Europeans will be there, Britishers will be there, other tribes is also settled over here. Now French East India Company for the trade purpose. And when the French came at Diu Daman and Goa, they established their centers at Chandranagar, May, Karaikal, etc. So many trading centers they have established. Now slowly and steadily we will be having the competition between British East India Company and French East India Company. Now they will be having the war also, or you can say battle also. In that, the French East India Company lost. So they will be restricted to the, you can say few ports, or you can say few trading centers. You can say certain limits only. Whereas the British have expanded their rule. Whereas Dutch and Danish are linked forever to India. Understood? So students, here we have completed our second topic, is that arrival of Europeans. Now next topic is of our chapter is Battle of Plassey. Now student, please remember this answer we must have to be right, or remember in the form of story. Like if you are telling a story of any picture, for example you have seen any movie, and that entire story you are telling to your friends in such a way that you need to be prepared this answer, so it will be easy for you. For example, right now I will discuss with you Battle of Plassey. So Siraj-ud-Dawla was ruling over Bengal. Siraj-ud-Dawla was ruling over Bengal. He was the Nawab of Bengal, and at that time in Kolkata, the Britishers will be having the trade center. Now for the security purpose, or for the security reasons, the Britishers make the fortress. You know what is fortress? Fortress means what? The around the trading center there will be a protection. So that fortress they were built without the permission of Siraj-ud-Dawla. Now Siraj-ud-Dawla destroyed this fortress, and this news reached to the Madras. It means Chennai. Now the small army led by the Robert Clive came to Kolkata. But when they see the army of Siraj-ud-Dawla was too strong and huge, they are unable to defeat him. So they make a treachery. It means a plan how to defeat the Siraj-ud-Dawla. And in that plan, they make Fox to join the two persons. One commander-in-chief of Siraj-ud-Dawla's army and one another person. They both are the Mir Jafar and Sheikh Hamid. Now these two persons, commander-in-chief Mir Jafar and Sheikh Hamid, were called to join with the, you can say, Britishers. and they will be having the plan to defeat the Siraj-ud-Daulah anyhow, because they are giving us such offer. It means Britishers are clever. They are giving an offer to Mir Jafar that if you lost the battle, then you will become the Nawab of Bengal, new Nawab of Bengal. So they will be getting, you can say, this kind of benefit. So according to plan, the Battle of Plassey was declared. It means then after what happened, the peoples of this Siraj-ud-Daulah, it means Siraj-ud-Daulah's courtiers, or you can say unnecessarily harassing the people. And then after the war was declared between the Siraj-ud-Daulah and Britishers. And according to that, we know that they both were cogs to join the Robert Clive, it means Britishers army. So they lost the battle. The Battle of Plassey was just ended in half a day only. And this Battle of Plassey was fought on 23rd June 1757. 23rd June 1757. The Battle of Plassey was fought near the village Plassey. That is why it is called Battle of Plassey. It Murshidabad, 38 km away from that in West Bengal. So Battle of Plassey, that we have remember one more time. I will take one glance on it. Siraj-ud-Daulah was ruling over Bengal. Now Britishers make the fortress around the trade, you can say that trading centers. After that, destroy this trading center by Siraj-ud-Daulah. This news reached to the Chennai. Small army led by the Robert Clive came to this Bengal. And after seeing that they are unable to defeat the Siraj-ud-Daulah, they make the plan, and in that plan they join 2 persons of the Siraj-ud-Daulah's army, Commander-in-Chief Mir Jafar and Sheikh Amishan. According to plan, Battle of Plassey was declared, and in just half a day that battle was ended because Siraj-ud-Daulah was defeated. Now, according to announcement, Mir Jafar was the new Nawab of Bengal. New Nawab of Bengal. So we will see our next topic, Battle of Buxar. Now, Battle of Buxar. Now, students, you just remember that year is most important, 1764. Now, here what happened? We know that now Mir Jafar was the Nawab of Bengal. Now, the Britishers want a more wealth, or you can say plenty of wealth from the Bengal. So, what they have done, you know that they make the plan to extract more wealth from Bengal. So Mir Jafar is not easily allow them to take a more wealth, because they are greedy. Britishers are too greedy. They want more wealth from Bengal. So unfortunately, the Mir Jafar was not allow them to take easily that all wealth. So Mir Jafar was dethroned. Dethroned in the sense he was now not able to become the Nawab of Bengal. So they make a new Nawab named Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim was the new Nawab of Bengal. Now, when the Britishers make the Mir Jafar, they want that they get the more wealth from the Bengal, but they are unable to. So they dethrone the Mir Jafar and make the Mir Qasim the new Nawab. But unfortunately, what happened? We can say that Mir Qasim was more ambitious than the Mir Jafar. He was too curious that he did not allow the Britishers to take the wealth. So the Mir Qasim declared the war against the Britishers. So Mir Qasim, you can say Shah Alam and the Mughal Emperor, they make their united army, and this united army fought against the Britishers. Now this united army fought against the Britishers, but Britishers victorious in this battle. So Mir Qasim wants to take the revenge of that. So now Mir Qasim was dethroned from the throne of this, you can say Nawab of Bengal, and again Mir Jafar was the new Nawab of Bengal, Mir Jafar. Now students, you just don't be confused over here. Mir Jafar was a Nawab after Siraj-ud-Daulah due to the plan or tragedy, you can say prepared by the Robert Clive, but he was not allowed the Britishers to take the more wealth. So he dethroned, and Mir Qasim was the new Nawab. But Mir Qasim was more ambitious than the Mir Jafar, so the battle was fought. It is called Battle of Buxar. Understood? Now, after that Battle of Buxar, Mir Jafar was again become the Nawab of Bengal. So it is our next topic that we have completed. Now, the next topic is that expansion of the company rule. Expansion of the company rule. Now students, our next topic is that expansion of the company rule. Now you get the question arise in your mind, how the expansion? You know that the Britishers fought two battles, Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar. Now you can understand that the grip of Britishers are slowly and steadily increasing or strongest part of the Indian territories. That is how you can say our next topic is the expansion of the company rule. In that first one, we need to remember in 1773, the English government passed a regulating act now. According to this act, the journal, or you can say governor of Bengal become the Governor General of Bengal, and they will be having the more rights. It means now all the trade and political activities are carried out under the name of this Governor General. So according to this act, the Britishers get more power because now onwards all the trade and political activities are carried out due to the under this their names. So the slowly and steadily the power of Governor General is increasing. So the first Governor General, Warren Hastings, the first Governor General became the Warren Hastings. Now Warren Hastings, when he became the Governor General, he will be having the two wars. First with Maratha, and second with Mysore Hyder Ali. Now you just see that when Warren Hastings became the first Governor General of Bengal, he has first, we can say, battle or war with the Maratha kingdoms, and second with the Mysore Hyder Ali. Now after that, the rule of the company, or you can say the East India Company, increased. Their obstacles are increased, and it had to face both the powers simultaneously. That is why they make a, you can say, a new Nawab, and the new Nawab of the Bengal is Cornwallis. Now Cornwallis became the second Nawab of the Bengal, and he will be having the third Mysore war with Tipu Sultan. You know that the Tipu Sultan is known as the Tiger of Mysore, and will be having a war with the Tipu Sultan, Cornwallis. Now Cornwallis having the war with the Tipu Sultan, and during that they will be join hands with the Marathas and Nizams and defeat the Tipu Sultan. Now here one more time the Britishers are clever. You know that the Cornwallis are not able to defeat the Tipu Sultan. So what he has done, you know that he had made the friendly relations with the Maratha, or you can say other people, and make a united army, and due to that the Tipu Sultan lost the battle, because now the Cornwallis army or Britishers army are two strongest after joining these two armies together. Then after, Sir John Saul is became the new Nawab of Bengal. Sir John Saul. But a Sir John Saul and his policies are too rigid. It means he is too cruel against the people. So due to his rigid policies, he has many opponents in the state also. Now the name of the British East India Company was, you can say, decreased, and they were getting a huge loss also. So after that, the responsibility is given to Wellesley to increase the power as well as the expansion of their territories. So Wellesley got the power. It means he had now responsibility to increase the power of the company. So now Wellesley introduced such policy, and these policies are known as the sweet poison policy. Why you know that? Because we will discuss right now. You just see that. Now Wellesley get the responsibility to increase the power of company as well as to expand their rule. Now due to that, the Wellesley introduced some of the policies. You know that first policy, subsidiary alliance system. in subsidiary alliance system there will be a 5 terms and conditions that we will discuss right now. It means whoever the Nawab or Nizam accept this subsidiary alliance system, it means those who accept it, they will be getting the British army, trained British army. But in return, that Nizam or Nawab has to give equivalent provisions or wealth or income to the Britishers. It means the Britishers army are getting a huge amount of money in that case. Second thing is that the Nizam or Nawab are not able to sign any treaty without the permission of Britishers. Now you just see that, for example, I am the Nizam and I get the, according to subsidiary alliance system, understood, I will be getting the British army, but I cannot able to use it. So what is the meaning of that army? Unfortunately, I have to give the equivalent provisions or wealth also or income to them. Okay, so I am not able to wage the war or sign the treaty with other. So this is the second term and it is too dangerous. Third or next one is that there will be one English representative in the state assembly. It means every time one English representative must be there in their court. Understood? Other foreign tribes are not allowed. It means according to them only Britishers are allowed to get the employment opportunity, not any other peoples allowed to get the. So this kind of policies they have made, introduced by the Wellesley, that is why it is called the, you can say, a sweet poison. According to that, many people, for example Nizam, Mysore, Hyderabad, Awadh, these many places are accepting this subsidiary system and they lost their kingdom also. After that, after the Wellesley, Hastings one more time came as a governor general and he increased the power with the Gorkhas and other peoples. And after that, one of the best, or you can say liberal, William Bentinck. He was the first governor general. He is known as a liberal governor general. Because you know that when he came to the become a governor general, he just see that dissatisfaction of the people and he find out the reasons that the previous governor general and his deeds directly impact on his work. So now he decided that he become a liberal in his deeds, and that is why you know that in 1829 with the help of Raja Ram Mohan Rai, William Bentinck banned on the sati system. That is a bad, or you can say average prevalence in our society. That is why he was also known as liberal governor general. He has banned so many things also that is good for our country. After the William Bentinck, Lord Dalhousie. Lord Dalhousie came as a governor general. And you know that when the Dalhousie came as a power in 1848, he was known as imperialist as well as reformist also. Why? Because under the leadership of Dalhousie, first railway line was started in 1853 between Mumbai and Thane. Even the wireless system between India and England also started. Even the public work departments established. Even the Dalhousie is known as reformist. Why? Because he banned on the child marriages. In ancient India, what happened? The Indians are getting the marriage in that early age. That is why he banned on the child marriages and advocate the widow remarriages. You know that the condition of widow in the earlier ancient time, she was not allowed for the any occasion. She has to live her life in a one corner of the house. That is the bad situations that prevails in our society. So that is why he has started to advocate the widow remarriage. It means the lady whose husband was died and she was a widow, so she can marry one more time. So these are some of the good work done by the Britishers also. Now up to here we have seen that expansion of the company rule through the different governor general. Now we will talk about the economic impact of the company rule. Economic impact of the company rule. Now only two topics is remain, students: economic impact and social impact. We can say first one is that economic impact of company Now economic it means students it is related to money as you know. During that time Bengal was a glittering. You know that Bengal was produced a good you can say muslin, it means one kind of cloth, even the spices, cotton cloth, so many things, sugar, jute, these all things were exported from the Bengal. So Bengal was you can say rich and prosperous state during that time. But after the arrival of the Britishers or company, British East India Company, the glitterings of the Bengal was faded away. And a Britisher started, you know, that Dvimukhi Shasan Paddhati. It is called Dvimukhi Shasan. Dvimukhi Shasan, or it is called dual power policy. Dual power policy. Why it is called dual power policy? You know that you just see that to collect the revenue from the people, that power will be having with the Britishers. To collect the revenue, you just see that to collect revenue, or you can say taxes. In short, I will write to collect the tax. That power is with the Britishers, and caring of people. It is called responsibility. Now you just see that power and responsibility. Now Britishers has power to collect the revenue, whereas the Nawab and Nizams and kings will be having the responsibility to care the people or for do work for welfare for the people. It means here kings and Nawabs will be having the responsibility without power, whereas Britishers has power without any responsibility. Now due to the arrival of the company, our peasants, you can say farmers, artisans, or many peoples are become poor because due to arrival of the company rule. Even though we can say before the arrival of the company rule, the villagers, peasants, and farmers are self-reliant, and after coming of the company rule, these all were you can say dependent and unemployed and poor. So it is the huge impact of the company rule on you can say our economy. It means due to that we become poor and poor day by day. After that, the next topic is that social impact of company. Now, student, we understood that economical impact. Now, next one is that social impact of the company. It means here what we can say, what is the social impact? It means what are the work that is done by the Britishers and what is the effect of that work into the society. It is called social impact. Now you just see that social impact. First of all, Britishers have done such a good thing. For example, they banned the child marriages, they advocate the widow remarriages. Even though they started some of you can say that railway line, wireless system, that they started this thing. These all things they have started for that. But these facilities are used by the Indian people also. Apart from this, we have discussed that child marriages, advocate widow remarriages. These all things are good for us. So whatever the you can say social events that prevail in Indian society, that is removed by the British, it is the good. Next one is that due to you can say Britishers, English education was implemented in India due to efforts of the Lord Macaulay's. Due to Lord Macaulay's endeavors, or you can say great effort, the English education was established in India. Now, after that, English education was imparted in India with the help, or you can say under the leadership of Charles Wood. The universities was established in Mumbai, Madras, or you can say Chennai and Kolkata. Now students, we know that the English education was implemented by the Lord Macaulay's and the universities was established by Charles Wood. Now you just see that these two things are also a great impact in the society because the English education was imparted, universities was now Indian get the English learner, and the youth of India, those who are having the knowledge of English, now they can easily ask about their rights. It means they come forward for, you can say, the freedom movement. That is a good sign for the society. So it is the social impact, economic impact. Now students, here we have discussed all, you can say, entire chapter we have completed. So please watch this video carefully. If you are not able to understand, then also please carry out all the worksheets of this chapter, learn the question answer very well, and give your best in the Sunday's test, and best of luck for the test. Thank you.